Waiting on the Lord for a child is never easy.
We struggled because for 1 year went, no child, second year, no child, third year, no child. And now, almost the end of the second year, we start asking questions like, what is happening? What is wrong?
What do you do when he answers that prayer with the blessing of a child who is abled differently?
At the time, I think I just was done with God. And I was very frustrated, very, very frustrated, because I couldn't understand why this is happening. And then he was my firstborn, my first child.
I got born again when my son was born. And therefore, that was also the time that God was building me up in faith.
How do you build character and take on the responsibility of raising the child?
I became a lioness. I was there, like, if I have a chama and I cannot bring my son, or I am not able to have my son in your space, I am done with you.
Every child had a desk, but my son did not have a desk. That did not go well with me. And when I came home, I said, I'm withdrawing him. I'm withdrawing him. My son can't be mistreated.
Plus, the extremes of a society grappling to understand some of these conditions.
Most of the people would lock their children in rooms and in the house. So when the visitors come, they count 1 to 3 children, and there's another one hidden somewhere.
Looking beyond the immediate challenges and finding hope to keep at it no matter what.
We have to give ourselves grace at some point. And that came at a cost for me, because I was angry for such a long time. And I lost a few friends, I lost a few spaces that I loved, because they were not good to my son, so I don't want you in my life.
Raising a special needs is on the edge of mental health. Is on the edge of losing it, because you wake up, milestones that you had achieved over the last 6 months go back to zero.
This is the story of the Njugunas and the miracle that is their son, Israel.
I said, he's speaking. And it was like my tears almost came out, because I had not seen such a child before. So for him to say, Mama, Baba, for me it was a great miracle.
When Marie and Peter got married, one thing that they were keen on was having children. But this would take longer than anticipated.
Our aim was just to get in there, get our first child very quickly, second, third. The people who know me from college know that I wanted 5 boys. So that was the plan. And we wanted to just get in there and get our children first, so that we are not late in bringing them up, because our years were quite gone. We struggled because for 1 year went, no child, second year, no child, third year, no child. And now, almost the end of the second year, we start asking questions like, what is happening? What is wrong? I started a depression that was not very good, because now I was struggling, because I know 2 years is not a lot, but for me, because of what I had intentioned at the beginning of the marriage, it was quite a long time, because I was like, it's in and pregnant and having a child.
As years went by, through one of Peter's colleagues at work, they would be introduced to a doctor that provided remedies, and Marie became pregnant. But it was not easy carrying the pregnancy to term.
That first pregnancy was bad. It was bad. I never enjoyed it. It was painful from day one. And that was explained medically to me, so that was okay. It was not good. I had complications from day one. I was bedridden I was given bed rest from the second month. So I was in bed, complete bed rest from the second month. I quit my job because from the get-go it was just dangerous for me to be upright. So I quit my job. At the time I was working with the Catholic Sisters of Loreto, the Musongari Sisters. So I was working there as an administrator. So I quit my job. I gave birth to him in 2013, July 15. That is when I gave birth to Israel through cesarean, because I couldn't because of the complications and all that. It was dangerous for me to just go through the natural process.
Their prayers had finally been answered, and the couple could hope for a bright future for their son.
Yes, we were very happy to have him. For me, because of being the new mother, and also because of just anticipating this child, I was a ticking mother. I was very keen with his milestones and everything. So I was like, he's feeding well, tick. He's tick. And I thank God for that, because if I was not that ticking mother and very eager to just have him hit his milestone, I could not have recognized some of the delayed milestones that he started having. So when I looked at my chart, you know those charts that you're given at the hospital for the care of the child, the immunization card has those milestones. So I would tick, tick, tick. And then when it came to talking, there was no tick. When it came to walking properly, there was no tick. So I started getting concerned, and that one as 2 years and a half. And they started becoming such delayed milestones that at 3 years, he's not walking.
You always believe that God cannot give you a child you cannot be able to manage. Initially, after staying for 5 years without a child, our thoughts were, we need to adopt a child. But now God has given us a child, and we thought, we asked for a child, He has given us. It's time to consult Him a lot, to work with God. And I think for us, our faith helped us, because it helped us to build our faith, because when God has promised something like Abraham, and you have to wait, of course, you take shortcuts like Abraham, and that time it took us quite some beating, quite some building.
As Israel was not achieving his milestones, Marie and her husband began looking for answers.
As Christians, our first goal was prayer, and also seeking people of the same faith. We are in Nairobi Baptist Church, so we have what we call like the cell groups. We have what we call vine groups, and for us, we belong to the Kabete Vine Group Fellowship, the Fellowship Home Group Fellowship, and we sought their counsel, because most of the time we used to go to home group fellowship in people's homes, and he was this erratic, he's seeking sensory. So one of the ladies noticed, and she told me that the daughter has a son who has Down syndrome. And she would like me to talk to the daughter. The daughter told me, there's this group I belong to, it's called TTR, it's Through the Roof, and it is an initiative of ADAT Kenya, ADAT Foundation, founded by Jackie Mathanga. She's quite an advocate in this space. And she told me, join this group. We are just ladies who discuss about our children and the issues we are going through. So I joined the group, and my husband joined the group also. And we started conversing. I introduced myself, and then from there I got advice. Please take him for assessment at this place. So there's KISE, it's called Kenya Institute of Special Education. So we were told to go there from that group. So I told my husband, the group is discussing about this place, we need to go for assessment, let us go. So we went there. And from there, they sent us to another therapist and another. So that is when we started the journey of knowing, almost like the first time we got the diagnosis of our son that he's autistic, level 1, because by that time he was nonverbal. And then he has ADHD.
With knowing came uncertainty, but his parents committed to giving the best to their children. They were up to task.
By the time I was marrying, I was very a loner. And therefore that helped me as well. I didn't have a lot of peer influence. I had lost a lot of those peers. And even the few I had, I kept my family business by myself. We stayed in a pretty closed-up space. We didn't have neighbors, so we took a house that we had our own compound. So when it came to matters of my family, I did not interact a lot with people, out of design as well, because it was a very frustrating moment. You don't want to bring your friends over, your child is just looking like he's dumb or something. You know, it's a man ego thing, but God is gracious. I think what you should know is that I got born again when my son was born. And therefore, that was also the time that God was building me up in faith. And why we called him Israel is because it is the time I was learning in BSF, Bible Study Fellowship, about the story of Jacob. And it was quite impactful for me. And I realized that through the study of Genesis, that there were so many people that walked with the Lord. Some he took, others he built up, others he punished, others, you know. So for me, I think the walk of faith at that time really, really helped me.
For me and my husband, because of cocooning ourselves with our own problems during the time of struggling to have a baby, we were also in this another cocoon where we are not seeking, and we became so protective of him that if somebody comments that kwa nini haongei, we could get offended, and just that space is off for us. If we go to a person's house and he's besides being a sensory seeker, he was quite hyperactive and very destructive, yeah. So it almost registered as indiscipline, but for us we knew something is wrong with our son.
For Marie, her relationship with God was shaken, and as she reflects, it was not easy to make sense of what was happening at the time.
At the time, I think I just was done with God, and I was very frustrated, very, very frustrated, because I couldn't understand why this is happening. And then he was my firstborn, my first child. And then now I was dealing with two things. For me, I am a hands-on, let's move this solution 1, solution 2, solution 3, let us follow and see where it takes us. And then I was dealing with my husband, who was not at my place then, because I was telling him this is the diagnosis. And he's like 3 years old at that time, going to 4, and he still does not have his speech.
The family would now grapple with the realities of getting the best care and treatment for Israel, which came with its own immediate challenges.
It was quite difficult for us, especially accessing good services for our child, for speech therapy and occupational therapy, and also to get a school where he can settle as we do all these things. We were quite new, so TTR was quite a resource for us. Still to date, it's quite a resource for us because it's a big community. We are almost like 2,000 families that are in that group. We were very lost, but not very lost at the time. And whatever was available for us was enough at the time, although it was quite dire on our pockets. So it was quite difficult for us even to be there, because like if I get a job, I am out in 2 months. If I get a nanny, she's out in 1 month. So we just settled and we decided it's you and him, and then let me go look for money. And that is how it has been almost all the years.
Social life for Marie would be quite hard, as she found it hard to engage with peers in different social spaces.
I became a lioness. I was there, like, if I have a chama and I cannot bring my son, or I am not able to have my son in your space, I am done with you. I am done with that. So I became like a shield for him. If you want to go through to him, you have to go through to me. So the perception is there, because most of the time when it comes to autism and ADHD to date, because right now he has a little bit of that, it almost manifests as indiscipline. So there is that wazazi wa siku hizi, why don't these young parents discipline their children? Why doesn't she do this? Doesn't she do that? Why doesn't she quiet her son?
The home fellowship group that is part of their church remains a very important support system for the family.
The Njugunas joined us in our home group fellowship, and they came with a boy, a big boy. I can't remember quite the age. When you grow older, you miss out on the age. Eh? But I found that this boy was of speaking age, but he wasn't speaking. And I didn't say much, but I was concerned. And then at some point, I approached the mom. I said, how come Israel doesn't talk? She told me he has a problem. He has a slow milestone, but we trust God. I really felt sad, because he was a handsome boy and very friendly, by the way. And it took some time.
Israel not being able to speak as he kept growing would become a key concern for the family as they struggled to find a school that would take him.
So I got to understand better that children are born with slow milestones, and I actually didn't, before, I didn't know what that meant. And I had no hope at all. Let me just confess, I said, this is going to be a difficult child, not difficult in terms of behavior, but difficult in terms of learning, in terms of even the communication when he grows up to be an elderly person.
This one school, we took him, and he had been going there for about two years. And because of his sleep pattern, sometimes he would get late to school. And this day, I decided to drive him to school. And I walked to the school. I walked up to the, mostly I would leave him at the door. They will be received by the teacher. But this day they had gone in class. So I reached until the door of the class and I called the teacher. He said, sorry, we are late. And now he had gotten in the class, so I asked, where does he sit? And I was showed the teacher's desk, but she had fumbled something. She had mumbled something, just to tell you that he didn't even have a desk in the class. Every child had a desk, but my son did not have a desk. That did not go well with me. And when I came home, I said, I'm withdrawing him. I'm withdrawing him. My son can't be mistreated. So we withdrew him from the school. Luckily that my wife then decided to homeschool him for quite some time. That did well for me. At least I didn't have to deal with, I almost hit the teacher, you know, when you realize that you've been paying so much school fees, and the thought that comes to your mind is that you want the best of this child.
As the couple trusted the Lord in prayer for a miracle that their son would speak, Marie took on learning more about the condition so as to give Israel the best care.
We kind of took up upon ourselves to pray for Israel, and we did pray, trusting God that one day Israel would talk.
We did something radical. We became so frustrated about his education that we decided to fast. We fasted for a month with my husband. We closed ourselves in and we fasted. And the only thing that we were praying for was that our child will speak. In the meantime, I was educating myself in terms of speech and also occupational therapy, and also just handling him as a child. So I went to school, I educated myself on special needs care. I also educated myself on early learning education, and I started homeschooling him because no school was picking him up. At around 6 years, and we have fasted and prayed and continued with our life for like a year. At around 6 years, we were, 5 years, around 5 years, we were accepted at Green Garden School. We went there, and it was such a miracle because they had already rejected us, and we were at the parking lot, my usual thing, parking lot, crying and asking God why. And then the secretary just came running to the parking lot and told us, she was called, I think, Miss Jenga. Mrs. Jenga is calling you back. And we went back, and she told us, I've just thought about something. Can we do a trial term or a trial month? And don't buy uniform, don't do anything, just bring him. Because if you buy uniform now, just that will be such a cost to you. Just bring him for 1 month, we try him out. And that is when he started his journey with a regular school.
It would not be long after enrolling in school that Israel would gain his speech, and this remains a momentous period for Marie as she reflects.
The first day I heard Israel say something, I said, he's speaking. And it was like my tears almost came out because I had not seen such a child before. So for him to say, Mama, Baba, for me it was a great miracle.
I think God, because it was to be his glory, to be his honor, had also even closed our ears. Because we were with this child and somebody else is telling him, Israel has told me hello. And we're like, no, Israel does not talk. And then it was like that. And then so from 3 people, 4 people in a span of like 2 months telling us Israel is talking. And then even in school, we were like, no. Well, he keeps quiet when he comes at home. And then we started now concentrating on to listen to his speech. And he would have a few things that he would do for a while, and then we don't know what he's talking about, and then one day he just does it correctly, like plate, he say, Pete, I want Pete. And then one day he just like, what one is key? He just says plate. And then that sticks with him.
As someone who has walked with the family from the onset, Veronica attests that indeed there is power in prayer.
I was very encouraged by these parents. We are the ones who thought they had a problem having such a child. Then they treated Israel normal. Discipline, when we went home, Israel don't, and he would not do. I mean, it was a normal family. So, and working with them, I can say that now I can say there's power in prayer, and corporate prayer for that matter. There is power in prayer. And these are people who love Jesus. They love God with the whole of their heart. They are not ways. They love God kabisa. And this is what encourages me. Yeah. I don't know whether they panic, but they don't show it. They never panicked, they never showed it. I saw people just steadily waiting for God to do something. And in the process, they got 2 other children. So, yeah, so that's a lot of faith.
Israel is now 10 years old. He has grown, and from personal interaction, one can truly attest that he is indeed smart and special.
He's a special child. Now that he has gotten over it, he's really special.
Before it was more of like, you have a child who can't speak, you have a child who can't be contained. You know, you are still grabbing him even on a matatu or in a church, you're still holding on him, he's screaming or biting you or something. But now too, he's quiet, he's calm. He might ask a few questions, but he's organized. I think God has been good. God, that's all I can say. Yeah.
We take things for granted. When we give birth to healthy children, we don't think it has taken God's good plan. Not that even Njuguna's son was not God's good plan. It was a very good plan, in fact, because later on, he's glorifying himself through the boy and the family.
Marie's husband Peter showed up for his family, and unlike some parents who deny their children, he chose to be present to date.
The biggest role I played was to provide the backup support to the family, that I would be the one to provide almost for everything, but also to be a bouncing wall where we are thinking of ideas. And you know, when you have a special needs child, you want to trot out as many things. You're participating, you're watching videos, you're reading books, and everything you hear, including stem cell therapy, you want to test with each other, you want to talk to each other. So I think that we have provided that, and also to be a friend, you know. Despite everything else, despite our shortcomings, despite us not being aware of many things, being a friend was good, I think. Maybe that's the role I played most, being her friend that she can empty things to. Yes, and tell things and share faith, because also when in doubt, you need somebody to pray with, you need somebody to pray for you, you need somebody to walk the walk with you.
It is clear that raising a special needs child can take a toll on the parents and immediate family. But in it all, learn to give yourself grace.
Don't push too hard. Sometimes let go. Sometimes let your hair go. Enjoy life. Take a deep breath. Go out. Enjoy life a bit. Why that is important is because raising a special needs is on the edge of mental health. Is on the edge of losing it. Because you wake up, milestones that you had achieved over the last 6 months go back to zero. All places you used to go and get therapy become hostile grounds for you. Like the school I used to go and get therapy. Now it becomes hostile ground for my son. So the other thing is also seek God's counsel. Read the Word of God, belong to a group of people. I prefer Christians, and I believe every person should choose a Christian group that you can pray with, that you can interact with, and become vulnerable to them.
Today, the Njugunas run Totoscape, an early intervention center for children with special needs. This was born out of their own journey raising Israel and the desire to share lessons learned with other parents.
Now seeing me bring an opportunity first for my son and other children, it was very encouraging. And I think to date is one of the things that makes me very, very happy. Interestingly is that I'm not the founder, my wife is. Because when I explained the theories and what I've learned, it was very exciting. And because I was creating, again, she's my friend, we bounced things together. So she carried the idea more than me. She was more excited about the idea more than me, and she agreed to open the space. And seeing it being open from an idea to something that is done, we even wrote a strategic plan together. So for me, it's full joy. I think it's the fulfillment of life.
We are an early intervention center. Right now, we have a space in my home where we just take atypical children and also children who have special needs. Our expertise, especially for those who are not under our early intervention program, we support in their own spaces, educational spaces, and we have educational support or learning support, especially with dyslexia, because most of the time I think I learn through my son and gain expertise through Israel so that I can help other people.
The society still stigmatizes persons abled differently or those with special needs. This is a heeding call for us to embrace them in our lives.
Most of the people would lock their children in rooms and in the house. So when the visitors come, they count 1 to 3 children, and there's another one hidden somewhere. So mine is now to tell people, there is power in prayer. There is power in prayer, and to believe that you have also to do your part. These people are not deaf. It's only that they have a slow milestone. So they hear. Like when we would visit them before Israel started talking, and they would say, Israel, no. And Israel would know, okay. He will not talk, but you can say, okay, I've heard. For me, that's very encouraging. So I keep telling people what I've learned.
As a man, and this is to all men, prefer to do hard things like raising a special needs child. I think it's a big thing, it's a big achievement, and it helps the man's ego if you have achieved such a feat. If I look my son, I think we have done well. I was telling her the other day that we shouldn't beat ourselves so hard. We have done well. We are on track. We have tried. We have failed, yes, but if you look at the whole picture, I think we have done well. So it's also to appreciate the steps you have taken, and the remaining ones to be confident enough that you will achieve them without really feeling like,